TalesFromYourServer, episode 27. She checked the tip. I had a 4-top last night celebrating a birthday. They were all older and seemed to be a group of close friends. After taking care of them, the woman at the end of the table gave me a slice of their cake, cherry chip, told me I deserved it for doing such an excellent job, and the man on the opposite corner from her paid the bill. On their way out, I saw the same woman who gave me the cake check to see what he had written on the tip line, and then leave some extra cash on the table. He had given me a 10% tip, and she turned it into a 20% tip. God bless. One time someone said, "Gosh, your service was so great, I don't know how to repay you." A tip, ma'am. A nice tip. She did not leave a nice tip. I served a 6-top and the bill was around $90, and instead of tipping me, they wrote in the tip line, "Haha, I got your pen," stiffed me and took my pen. Booths aren't open to take out. Is that hard to understand? At the diner, we do a ton of taquilla orders. When someone orders taquilla, they simply walk over to the taquilla person and place their order. There are menus up at the counter for guests to browse before ordering, but some people don't understand that there's also a busy restaurant around them. Thus they feel like sitting at the booths while they browse the menu and take up an entire booth that a server wants to make money off of. They're always so irritated when someone mentions to them that the booth is for dine-in guests. People are so inconsiderate, it baffles me. My rudest encounter so far. I work at a medium nice restaurant that pretends to be fine dining. Most of my fellow servers are Hispanic, some Greek, some Egyptian, a fair amount of diversity. I'm a white third, or something, generation American, and I only bring this up because of the following encounter. It's a busy night. A retired white man and his wife, 95% of our clientele, sit in my section. At some point he asks me, "Are you American?" Yes. Says I, "Then what the F*** are you doing working here?" I was so caught off guard and busy that I didn't realize what he was really asking until later. Although still not sure if I or my coworkers were more the target of that lovely remark. When customers send you the best DMs. I live in a small place where everyone kinda knows everyone. I'm very open on social media about my GAD diagnosis as part of help finding funding for a few mental health charities, which is why I think she included the part about me being a good mum. A few months ago, we had a 25-top birthday party as well as 30 other diners in the main restaurant between myself and my 16-year co-worker. We were stressed AF, and we finished so late we didn't go home before the diner shift started. 3 hours of helping KP set up the restaurant, hanging around to serve drinks, which is normally someone else's job. Today I posted something random about my walk home from work on my Insta story, and a girl from the 25 top sent me this DM. "Just thought I'd say you are a credit to the *MY restaurant. If that's still where you're working, you served us for our Grandma's birthday, and it was just lovely from start to finish, and that was all down to you. When you're feeling tired etc, just know you are a fantastic mum and fantastic at your job. Sorry if this comes across really weird, haha, but I just thought I would let you know. You are brill. I have had the worst week and this made me feel so much better, and I really wanted to share it." She was only able to reach out to me because of our small community, but you all need to know that even on your worst days, someone feels this way about you. Children's behavior. Last night I served a table of 4 adults and 4 children, and usually am unsure of what to expect from both the larger group and involving children as I'm fairly new to serving. I'm telling you, they were an absolute joy to serve. All 4 children were siblings, and they were ages from 3 to 11, and so well behaved it was unreal. They made my job easy by all picking water and mac and cheese and chocolate ice cream for their dessert and using their manners when served. Each time I came back to the table to check on them, the youngest one was very chatty with me by always saying hi and bye to me. It was adorable. I made sure that I told them and their parents and grandparents that they were by far the best behaved children I had ever served, and excellent job on the parents' part. Just thought I would share a little feel-good story here for you all. People being petty brings me profit. So I had just been sat when my coworker comes up to me at the front, right by some tables, and says, very hatefully, I doubt these asshole people are going to have enough money to pay, let alone tip, so you can have them. She's implying a personal hatred for these people who were literally 3 feet away and could hear her saying this. I said I don't think that's how it works, and she said if I knew the story I would understand, and that she'd already talked to the manager about it. I took the table, a young couple, and apologized to them for her incredibly inappropriate behavior. They said not to worry about it, and they were very polite. I also saw that, as soon as I had come to the table, the girl had already whipped out $100 bill, to prove a point I guess, but either way, I figured I was going to be tipped well, if for no other reason than to spite the other waitress, who mentioned something about that being her ex-boyfriend and a bitch she was gonna stomp. I was right. They had a $24 bill and Amp had me break the 100, and she handed me a 20, telling me I could let other waitress know that she'd been wrong. So both parties involved were being petty to an extent, but I was not involved and Amp made money off of this, which is great for a Monday night at a breakfast place. There's a leaf in my omelette. Ma'am, that is a bell pepper. Shift traders. So back in my time as a host, I almost made sure to have good rapport with the servers and considered some friends. That said, there were a group of like 3 or 4 I just couldn't stand. See, they always complained about how little they made as servers and Amp needed to make more. It wasn't because they were getting bad tips or bad hours, but they constantly were giving up their shifts. They didn't have a second job, just didn't want to work. I tried to explain to them, on a few occasions, that if they didn't try giving up their shifts, they would earn more. They always responded, like I had 8 heads or they were too tired to work. They didn't last too long as the manager caught on to what they were doing, and just started giving them their wish, less shifts until it got to the point they were working 1 or 2 shifts a week, and they still tried to give them up. Can't cure stupid sometimes. Surprise visit. There was one night I was serving a table of 3 guys and they happened to be regulars. I hadn't served them before, since I picked up a shift on my off day. The other servers were telling me that they had only received great tips from them, which was nice to hear, but didn't really change my performance as I try to treat everyone well. The night continues, and they rack up a $200 tab, and it's all on one ticket. One guy pays, and leaves a 10% tip. Obviously not the best, but it pays for tip share, and I made money that night regardless. I come in on my day off later that week to help decorate my workplace for the holiday season since I helped come up with theme. I see the guy that paid for the bill come in and talk to the host and then to a server in the bar. I think nothing of it and continue unraveling the lights. All of a sudden the guy's in front of me. He apologized for leaving a bad tip and hands me $20 and thanked me for my service. It definitely surprised me and made me happy that he took time out of his day to tip a server he felt he wronged. A lady is borderline abusive to her children and somehow I'm the rude one. I work at a small town coffee shop, so small, I'm the only one on shift. We also have a printer available as well. So a lady and her 2 kids, between 426 and 729, came in today. She sat down next to the printer. I asked if she needed anything, and she was just here to print. Cool. Then I overhear her micromanaging her kids. Think don't touch that, stay there, and sit down, and the kids continue to do whatever. I do my best to just ignore it. She asks me a question about the printer and I help her out and get her back on track. Then proceed to clean some dishes in the back of my shop. Then I see from the corner of my eye, she grabs her youngest by the forearm and slams him decently hard into one of the chairs. He starts crying. I DK what to do, because I'm so shocked. After a bit, I decide the best option is to not confront her. I'm a petite girl, 24, but TBH I look 19. Sticking my ass out there won't get those kids any less abused, to be honest, and the conversation would go, don't tell me how to parent my kids, who do you think you are? And it's not like I have enough information to contact CPS. And if I piss her off, She'll probably go full shit mom mode on me and probably take it out on her kids later. After maybe 5 minutes, the kids start spinning the seats of the stools we have at the front of the shop. This breaks them incredibly easily and has in the past, so I politely ask them to stop. Sorry, could you guys not spin the stools? They break really easily. Then they proceed to begin standing on top of the stools, which has to some kind of liability, but whatever. They leave, thank God. Then the woman leaves a 1-star review on Yelp that just says staff is rude. Like Jesus Christ, Karen, if you're gonna complain, can you not abuse your kids and fucking buy something? Also, people also in the industry, what's a productive way to actually go about this situation? How do you get through to an abusive Karen without having to deal with her final form? Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I love serving tables in New York State because I actually get paid a decent wage. I don't know if this is the right place to post this, but I have to give a shout out to New York's labor laws. I just moved to upstate New York from Columbia, South Carolina. I've been working in the hospitality industry for almost 17 years. During those years, I was never paid more than $2.13 hours, unless I was bartending, then I got paid $3 hours. Well, I now get paid $10 an hour and that completely blows my mind. How do certain states get away with paying servers so poorly? Not only did I basically get an $8 raise, I'm required by New York State to take a 30-minute break every 6 hours. What are breaks? If I'm not able to take that break, I get paid an extra $1.50 an hour. All of this is just crazy to me. It's like I'm working another job on top of my existing job because of the rate per hour they pay servers here. I know cost of living is more expensive up here and taxes are crazy AF, but I'm not living in New York City, so it's not all that bad. I can't believe I've been serving tables for all these years for such a low pay rate. So kudos to New York State. Please don't throw the plates. I've been a manager for at Jitchalibby's less than a year, so I haven't seen everything. This is the first time 2 guests got into it and started throwing share plates at each other. I'm at the door when a family of 4 walk in. Parents, their 4-year-old son, and grandma. I seat them in a booth, hand them menus, tell them their server's name, and finish off with introducing myself, and I hope they enjoy their dinner. They did not. A while later, another server tells me guests are fighting. I'm in the kitchen doing dinner line check, so I put everything down and head to the floor just in time to see the mom walk by the host stand. I'm gonna get my fucking money. I don't know who she's yelling at because the rest of her party is outside and her server is with another table. There are broken dishes covering the floor at the end of their booth and leftovers everywhere. I never got the story, but watching it on camera was fun. I checked with the surrounding tables and they were fine. No one was injured, but I asked one of the tables to fill out a witness statement. I just happened to ask the British couple who were quite shocked. Not the best story here, nor the best I've ever told, but it was a first for me. I hope you got a kick out of it. Pitter patter, let's get at her. So preface here, I fucking love the restaurant I work in. It's a middle nice, non-corporate Italian place. The owner can be moody, and his daughter gets a free pass on whatever her hormonal judgy young teen self wants, but let's be honest, that's not remotely unexpected. The management is 3 out of 4 people, awesome sauce. The 4th guy, though, is a grouchy petty twat. Major bummer that he's the one who makes the schedules. When I got hired on, I was very upfront that I wasn't doing it for the money. My finances are in the clear. I wanted the job to get out of the house a few days a week, make a little side cash for small luxury purchases, think Starbucks, a new game, beer for D&D night, etc. And because I genuinely enjoy being a waiter. Recently I've been taking over more and more of the week shifts, such as 4 or 5 doubles in a row, and being scheduled on days I have not been available since prior to hiring. Since I'm not strapped for money when it comes to bills, I haven't been overly concerned about what I make at the end of the night, but lately it's gone steeply downhill. I might spend a solid 8 to 10 hours on my feet, only to walk away with $40, and the past few months that's been a good night for me. I'm running on fucking fumes at this point. After the second or third double in a row, I can't muster the energy to do jack shit around the house other than collapse in my bed and try to sleep in spite of aching limbs and feet so abused I limp when my alarm goes off and I crawl back to life. I spoke to the scheduling manager on the phone to remind him, again, that I'm not able to continue this trend, and while he's been more than willing to reconfigure the schedule in the past for others, he more or less told me tough it is kiddies, see you at 10:30 . Welp, alright man. I've decided that I'm going to go in at 10:30 and speak to his boss about this problem, about how I have time consuming obligations outside of the restaurant that are being neglected for several weeks now, and I'm starting to suffer health-wise from the amount of time I'm spending here. That $40 a night no longer compensates me for the aches, pains, and general fatigue that are resulting from these unwanted hours. So he can either fix the schedule to what I agreed to at being hired, 4 to 6 shifts a week, not 9 to 12, or as a professional courtesy he can pick what 4 to 6 shifts he needs me to do this week and fire me for no call no show on the rest of them. I'm over this shit. I have a life outside of the restaurant, and I applied to work there as a way to get out of the house now and then, not destroy myself for petty pennies and persisting pains. Does it sound like my restaurant is going under? So it's actually my last week at this place and I've been there since December. I've been in the industry for 7-ish years, and right now I'm in pre-nursing school. Usually restaurant work drives me mad, but I've been handling it a bit better this go around, since I know it's temporary, and I have school to focus on. However, I really think this place is going under. A couple years ago it was a super popular place, and then was bought out by another company that changed the menu, all the food, redid the inside, etc. The owner of this company has had like 6-ish restaurants in the past, all have failed. Since this place was bought I've heard it's getting slower and just isn't the same. Food isn't good, no good specials or deals, etc. So our sister restaurant just closed due to high rent costs, and one of my managers kind of saw that as her out, since the manager from the place that closed could come over to this place, so my manager is leaving to be the GM elsewhere. She got me my new job. Well, this manager basically staffed this restaurant with her friends and classmates from university, since so many PPL left when things started changing after the buyout, and now it's literally a mass exodus. Like 6 people are leaving this place right now. This place sucks. Management doesn't show up. Sometimes we don't have manager until 4 PM or just not at all. We run out of food all the time. Employees have to go to the grocery store next door to pick up essentials like coffee and cheese. They never keep up with orders. Broken sink behind bar for 2 years won't fix it. Won't buy us fly traps. All of the staff that tried to stick around left because their hours were getting cut if they were getting paid more. Hosts having been there 4 years, for example, switching over to cheaper brands. 4XR salmon isn't real salmon, it's chum mixed with salmon that has been dyed orange etc. Manager I mentioned, her check bounced 3 days ago. Guy who delivers linen said 3 checks bounced, etc. Oh, and the owner of the company filed for bankruptcy back in like February I think, and tried to spin it like a positive. So how long till this place burns down? Bartender in training. Tonight I waited in the cutest family of restaurant workers. Right away they let me know they were all either servers, kitchen workers, or grew up in the restaurant world. Normally that makes me roll my eyes, because it's equivalent to ill, take care of you, and then stiffing you. But these customers were the nicest and most patient people to wait on. In particular, the small child with them. She walked right up to the bar, sat on a high top, and chatted with our bartender for a good hour. She mailed the bartender small talk, and was so eager to hear what our staff had to say. She even patiently waited in the chair when our bartender had to step away and make drinks. After reading so many horror stories here, waiting on this tiny future bartender really made my day. You can't fix stupid. This past Saturday night, an older white man in a Trump hat and his younger Filipino wife dined at my work and were waited on by one of our most fabulous servers. When the server goes to check on them, after they've had a moment to try their sushi entrees, the man is irate. He says he's disgusted and demands to speak to a manager. What had upset him so? He had eaten the wasabi on his sushi plate. His wife was clearly amused by it, but he was furious. Naturally, the manager who talked to him, and who was the master sushi chef working that night, refused to calm anything. When my bar manager came over to me and relayed the story which had just unfolded, I couldn't help but burst out laughing before telling him, well, you can't fix stupid. I had the worst shift of my life and I really need to vent about it. I just started at a local restaurant and bar, and while I have experience, there were a few years between my last serving job and this one, so I'm a little rusty, which is why this past weekend was a huge confidence boost for me, because I had finally gotten back into the swing of things and my tips noticeably doubled. I was really proud of my performance, after being out of the game for a hot minute. And then Sunday happened. I still haven't memorized all the specials, so I write them down every day, just to be safe. For whatever reason, this didn't stop me from bringing in food at normal prices instead of discounted prices 3 separate times. Luckily, I noticed my mistake before I'd brought any checks to my tables, so I very embarrassedly asked my manager to void them. Immediately after my checks were fixed, I turn around to notice a couple at the bar is ready to order, so I walk over and begin my intro when I feel a hand grab my arm and pull me away from this couple. I turn to see a coworker who is now loudly reprimanding me in front of the couple because apparently she had been waiting to take their order and I accidentally jumped her, essentially. So as if I wasn't already embarrassed from bringing food in wrong, now I'm really embarrassed. I sort of keep my head down the rest of the night, because I don't want to make any more mistakes when a 10 top of high school guys walk in, and of course, I get them. No problem, whatever. They have me running back and forth a lot, but their orders were fairly simple. Things take a turn for the worse when they ask for the check to be split 10 ways. Oof, okay, I can do that. I tell them it's just going to take a minute to do, and I'll be back with them right away, and thank them for their patience. After they receive their checks they are immediately denying ordering soda/fries/etc. One kid actually said he counted his wings and he didn't have the full 20 he ordered. It was a shit show, and I didn't know what to do, so I got my manager to help me sort it out. At this point I just want to crawl in a hole and die. Finally it gets sorted. They leave. And not a single one of them tipped me. I know kids are notorious for not tipping, but really, not 1 out of 10. Not even $1. I was already on the brink of tears and considering going somewhere to cry after picking up my last table's check, only to find their table and check abandoned. They walked out without paying while I was cashing out the 10 top. I couldn't even make it to the break room. The tears started spilling right then and there, and I do my best to hide my face while I book it to the kitchen and just break down in front of all my new coworkers only a month after meeting them. I'm so embarrassed, mortified, frustrated at myself, etc. I straight up asked my manager if I was going to get fired at the end of my shift because of how nightmarish it was. I didn't lose my job, but holy fuck. I've never had a shift like that in my life and I could really use some worst shift ever stories, so I feel less alone in this. A host/hostess is invisible? I got a new job as a hostess a few months ago which I love. However, I can't help but feel invisible. The bartenders and some servers are treated like gold. If you look at my restaurant's social media it shows all the bartenders and a few of the favored servers. Maybe it's a petty thing to worry about, but I don't even feel like we are acknowledged, and it's the little things at work that make me feel like this. We are the first face of the restaurant and lead the way for a great experience. If something goes wrong in the front of house we get the heat for it, even if we didn't do anything wrong. My coworker even agreed that we don't get the recognition we deserve. We deal with the entitled Karens of the world, the party of 8 that comes in an hour before close with no reservation. We greet people with a smile on our face when we want to lose our minds from rude customers. We deal with the people who ask to be seated several times because they had to have a booth. We also get servers coming after us if we can't seat a customer in their section. God forbid we try to do our job that is expected of us. I have several amazing servers that I get along fabulously with, other than that I'm looked down on. I always say thank you whenever someone hands me a menu. I get they're busy, but would a simple smile be too much to ask for if they are that busy? Sorry for the rant. I'm grateful for this job as I know what it's like to not have one. Are there any other hosts or hostesses that feel like this? Or am I just sensitive? Tipping and camping. Hello servers, yesterday my friend and I went out to lunch. The restaurant was rather empty with probably only 6 to 7 other tables in the restaurant. After we finished eating we stayed probably 30 to 45 minutes and the server continued bringing soda refills. The bill was about $22 each, $44 total, we left $30 each. While she wouldn't have flipped the table, no wait for her section, we wanted to make sure he was still compensated fairly. What's a good tip if we camp like that? The big top that made my birthday amazing. Before I begin, I'll give some backstory. So my birthday was this past Friday, and the day before that, I had planned a lunch with about 9 friends plus my boyfriend. Unfortunately, 8/9 of my friends either had not responded or had last minute excuses. Some genuinely had work, but most of them were unresponsive. This really bummed me out, and I ended up crying during lunch. I had already bought a cake, and I was really looking forward to seeing my friends, as I serve/host 3/7 days, and have school 5/7 days. I ended up taking the cake to my mum's restaurant, where my baby brother had a go at getting messy with it. It was nice seeing him, and having him enjoy it, as I only get to see my brothers once a week as I live in the neighboring city. Anyway, so this past Saturday I was working as a server. I had a big top but unfortunately, I was very busy, and neglected getting to them for a bit longer than I wanted. When I finally got there, I did my usual spiel, and introduced myself, and took drink orders. They were a family of 6, 2 parents and 3 daughters with 1 boyfriend it looked like. Right off the bat they were super polite. They looked me in the eye to speak to me, and asked me how I was doing. I got back with the drink orders, and right as the dad was making conversation with me, addressing me politely by my name, I may add, I spilled 2 waters all over myself, and a bit on the mom. I was mortified, but they made light-hearted jokes and I hurriedly cleaned the mess. Throughout the rest of the meal, everyone called me by name, and we kept joking back and forth with each other. They really made me feel like part of the family for an hour, and it was such a wholesome experience all around. Everyone was so lovely, and they remarked that I had the same name as their cousin. I also drew them a picture of Spider-Man, haha. I usually draw on spare receipts for little kids, but I thought these people were so amazing I just had to return any favor I knew how. After they left, I realized they tipped me on top of the automatic gratuity. We have an automatic grat for big tables. They left me a note that said an extra thank you. Going home that night I honestly cried a bit. They made me feel so welcome, and they made my crappy birthday celebration into a dream. I carried that positivity onto the rest of my shift, and I didn't even care I had a couple of late tables. I was so elated beyond belief. The experience was so positive that I didn't care about the money at all. They cold stiffed me, and I would have been grateful for how welcoming and polite they were. I printed out a copy of their receipt, to which I now use as a notebook for my textbook. I hope to see them again. And maybe hand out an adoption form, haha.